Hello and welcome to a very festive edition of Weekend Winners in association with BetVictor. Now this is our final show of 2024, so we're giving you something a little bit different, a little bit extra, because not only are we going to be looking forward to the action at Ascot this weekend, all races live on Sky Sports Racing, but also we're going to look further afield to beyond Christmas Day into the plethora of action that we have over the festive period, giving you some of our best bets and insights ahead of that. Now joining me, one of the lads is very festive. So Sam Boswell, you get the intro first because you are apparently the only one that's made the effort, because I've made half an effort.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Kate. You can not get away with that.
I believe I can.
But there we go. Yeah, I've got the gaudy jumper on. The Grinch next to me clearly didn't get the memo.
Yeah, well, the two of you are going to be pretending to be a bit Christmassy and positive. I'm going to keep it real for the viewers at home.
Oh,
yeah.
We'll fill up Declan's chest.
That's not even red for a start. You know, that's like something me granny wore during the Blitzkrieg, World War II. So, maybe, I'm just the one keeping it real.
If we're going to be throwing any sort of stones down from a fashion point of view, Rixie and his glass house over there right now.
Look, I've never proclaimed to be a
apart from today
aficionado until today.
It wouldn't be Christmas without a family row.
Exactly, that is more to the point.
Yeah, hold on, we're all in the same team here. We should be kind of,
Oh, we won't be in a second with some of these selections.
But if you think that's bad, wait till you hear the King George preview. That's going to be good.
Exactly, we're going to get into that pretty much straight away as well. But before we do so, a reminder as ever to please do gamble responsibly. Our tips are not guaranteed to win. We'll also do our best to point you in the right direction. Right, as promised, we're going to kickstart with the King George. Of course, comes up as Boxing Day. Now, the feature race on the 26th comes up at 2:30. This Grade 1 contest over 3 miles. So, of course, this is recorded before the confirmations, before the supplementary stage as well. You wanted to talk about it, though.
Well, I think, if you're going to have like a Christmas cracker section, I think you've got to talk about the King George, because it is the big Christmas race. But Christmas has fallen so horribly for the show this year. Yes. I think we're doing this Friday morning. The supplementary stage, I think, is this morning, so we don't know. It sounds like every man and his dog is going to be supplemented for the race. The real whacker is going to be in there. Spillane's Tower potentially in there. I think David Cotton, French trainer, he's potentially going to have a French horse supplemented as well. So it's not good, and my opinion is, I think you're mental if you have a bet in this race now at the moment. I have no idea what's going on. Not only that, you've got Grey Dawning, who's fav, I think, at the moment. He had a really tough race at Haydock, not too long ago. Corbett's Cross is going to have to jump a whole lot better on quicker ground around here. Who else is in there? Protectorate, would he go? Jumps left, not good enough, probably. Banbridge needs to prove he stays. Go on, give me more. What else have we got?
Well,
the French horse,
Limerick surely comes here to defend his crown. The ground's going to be in his favour.
It's going to be in his favour, but he didn't exactly win it like a star last year, did he? Ile Francais comes here on the back of a pulled-up effort. He's got issues with bleeding, it sounds like, at the moment, so...
And you've not even mentioned the winner yet, Dex, so am I going to jump in?
What a way to start.
Go on, well, you give kind of your nod to your horse and I'll jump back in.
All right. I quite like Long Presse here. His record fresh is outstanding. Let's be honest, Venetia has been absolutely flying. The big races that she's been a target trainer for, it sounds like Connections are really pleased. He obviously had a slight niggle, I think, and that's why he missed the Betfair, but I don't mind the fact he's coming here fresh. My only concern, I suppose, would be the ground, but realistically, his record on good to soft is fine. I don't think it's going to quicken up too much. I think we've got about 4 to 5 mils of rain due before Boxing Day, and given how changeable the forecast can be, hopefully we end up with a little bit more for this fella's chances. Obviously, Charlie Deutsch potentially got the choice of a couple in here with a stablemate Royal Pagaille also in here. We'll wait to see if both run, but I feel like Long Press off fresh. I know he probably was beaten when he was in the race, and pecked, didn't he, on landing and unshipped the rider, but I just felt like he kind of had the profile for me. It was that horse and Hewitt with the 2 at double-digit prices. I quite like the shape of. Be interested to see if Hewitt does come here. But go on then, Deck. Tell me how I'm.
Now we've had some positivity. We can go back to Deck again.
Well, look, I'll double down with the positivity because I'm with Long Press as well at the moment. But look, it wouldn't be with any great confidence because we don't know the field yet. But look, he was running a massive race in the King George 2 years ago when they had a bit of a soft on seat at the last behind a Brave Man's Game, who at the time was at his very, very peak, and he was going to be comfortably second best horse in the race, wasn't he? And I think that day he had a really bad habit of jumping left, and that probably cost him as well in the race. But, you know, I went back and watched the Lingfield race that we just saw there. He did jump a little bit left there and, you know, beating Protector at that form. You know, that was franked massively at the Cheltenham Festival. Protector obviously went on to win the Ryanair. So I think as a form horse, there's absolutely no doubt he's classy enough to win. You'll see there, he just edges a little bit left. But after this race, I went back and I watched the Gold Cup run. And, you know, he ran a cracker in the Gold Cup. For me, he's shaped like absolutely comfortably third best horse on the day behind Galopin Deschamps and the Gordon Elliott horse, Jerry Colomb. Clearly just did not stay the trip in that heavy ground. And I thought Charlie Deutsch was probably, you know, given he looked like he was coming to the end of his tether in the King George over 3 miles, I thought Charlie Deutsch was probably too aggressive on him as well. Now, it didn't make a difference. He wasn't going to win. He wasn't going to finish second. He might have maybe finished third with a slightly better ride, but he's got a lot going for him. Venetia's in great order. He's absolutely classy enough to win. So, yeah, I'm with Long Press as well, but it's hard to be really confident with the horse in this race at the moment.
I know that was pretty well done by you, though. You did put the positive spin on it in the end after just destroying the entire race to kick start. But you brought it back around again with a little bit of realism towards the end. Yeah, I guess that's a compliment. I'll give you that one at this point. But it is, though, isn't it? It's a nightmare of a race, especially when we talk about the supplementary stage as well, and the fact that we still don't know, well, the full lineup by any means for this. Now, the horse, though, that I'm fascinated by, and this is so unlike me, is Il Est Francais, because I hate siding with a horse. I know why you're putting that face. Because I hate siding with a horse that disappointed so badly on their most recent start. And that is exactly what we've got with Il Est Francais here as well. The fact that he bled on his most recent outing in the French equivalent of the King George, and of course over that further trip, but you just knew from not actually that far before he pulled up, he was in serious trouble then. And James Reevely, who knows him so well, he did the right thing, pulled him up before he got to the big scary ditch at that point as well, which, yeah, definitely the right thing to do, because his stride just shortened. You knew something wasn't right. It was
really weird, wasn't it? The petrol, he looked like he was in great order beforehand, and the petrol light just went out.
Yeah, which is just exactly what you see when a horse has bled. They just go to zero straight away. And you know that was as bad as we've seen from him. He has disappointed in the past, not to that really bad extent, but he has disappointed in the past. But the positive for him is that he has bounced back to some of his best form on his next start. So for all that with horses, once they get into that bleeding habit and the mentality, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, because the horse will then think that they're going to bleed, so they do then bleed, so it's vindicated, so then the next time they go out, they think they're going to bleed again, and it's just a horrible thing, bleeding. But if he can just revert back to the form of that Corto Star of last year, they're not going to see which way he goes in this. And that's the price that you're now taking, is just, I think, chancing him to run back to that form of last year. You're not sure?
Place lay for me, Kate, but you know,
really?
I wish I
know I have winning place lay.
I think yeah. Well, that's actually quite a sensible angle in some ways. I just personally wouldn't want to touch him with the barge pole, because the other problem you've got is everyone else in the race knows that he's had these issues. So he's not going to get an uncontested soft lead, is he, and be able to jump them into submission. If anything, they're going to probably turn the screw a bit earlier on him and try and get him out of the way.
One thing I would say is that track at Otay, it doesn't matter whether it's July or December, it is always heavily watered. So I think getting back on a proper flat ground, slick kind of ground track will suit him. But I don't know, I just don't like the way they've handled this horse. You know, what's his name? His name's gone completely against me. Tom George's son, Noel.
George, yeah.
So, you know, he was interviewed on Sky Sports, and you know, he was also pulled up in his run 3 starts ago, wasn't he? And they said they weren't happy with him before the race, but they ran him anywhere. I just don't really like that. And you just wonder now, this has been the plan for a long time, but they're just saying, look, we're going to roll the dice. So
yeah, fair play to them for rolling the dice.
Absolutely,
to be honest.
Yeah,
it adds another level of intrigue to what should be a good renewal day.
Hopefully will be exactly that. So I'm going to stick with Il Est Francais, despite plenty of other judgment that I've had previously. You both with Long Presse, though, all the same on his reappearance start. So do let us know in the comment section below who you fancy for the King George. Now, we talk about the festive period and the Christmas crackers that we have on offer. So much to look forward to. So, Sam, what else caught your eye?
Yeah, we all need to keep 1.5 eyes on Ireland, don't we? These the 4 days we have at Limerick and Leopardstown really do throw up some very good horses. And Dec and me were talking before we came in. Just look at Gordon Elliott's bumper squad. Like, there's going to be some seriously expensive horses running. There will be some impressive winners out of those. But there was a horse that caught my eye back at Punchestown. We sponsored on the card earlier on in the autumn, and the Big Westerner won a maiden there for Henry de Bromhead. And I wouldn't say was reasonably fancied in the betting, but went off, I think, about third favourite, 4-1, something like that. It looked a quite deep race on paper. She's entered at the moment in a Grade 2 race at Limerick, and I saw some quotes for the Albert Bartlett. I'm not so sure she'd need to go that far yet, but I did think she could be really nice at that kind of middle distance hurdles, and she'll make up into a really nice horse. So she was one on my sort of tracker list that I saw was entered, and thought, yeah, interesting bit of placement there. So that was just one to flag. And the only other thing I would say is there's a lot of racing on. Don't get too carried away. Pick your battles.
Yes.
You can watch some of it. Make sure you get it on the Sky Plus and record it, because you're going to have days in January when we're all skint and fed up and cold. Watch it all back. But yeah, I just thought that was the one horse that I got for the novice hurdles that caught my eye.
You could go under the radar as well, given, like you say, the amount of action that we have on offer as well. So nice one to flag up there. But it is true, Dec, where both sides of the Irish Sea, we have so much to go at.
Absolutely. Christmas Day is a day of piggery, isn't it, with food and drink and whatnot. And then Boxing Day or Stephen's Day, depending on what part of the world, is just off the charts. There's just so much racing. So, as Sam says, you've got to pick and choose your battles. But for my Christmas cracker, I wanted to mention the Challow Novices Hurdle, because this is shaping up to be a really, really good renewal, and it's obviously going to be live on Sky Sports Racing. Another part of the reason I wanted to plug the race, and Sam was giving me a ribbon saying I was just a company man mentioning this race, but not only because it's on Sky Sports Racing, but it's looking like a really good race. You've got Potter's Charm in there from the Twiston Davis team, Regent Stroll potentially of the Nichols team. Who else we got in there? The New Lion for the Skeltons, who after he won at Chepstow, Dan Skelton mentioned the word special, which I thought was really interesting for a horse who just won his maiden or his novice. And the other horse I'm forgetting is Bill Joyce of the John Joe and NJ O'Neill yard. I thought he was really good at Sandown. I think depending on we'll have to see what ground conditions do, but I think at the moment Potter's Charm has definitely got the strongest form out of all of those. Now he's run more times. He's had 3 starts over hurdles compared to a lot of those guys who've only had 2 in 1 start. So he's been able to kind of get to that level of form. But his jumping is coming together, and I think if the ground is on the decent side, he is the one to side with. But it's a really good race, and while we didn't have an Irish entry in it last year, there have been previous Irish entrants in the race previously. Gordon Elliott has run a horse there, Paul Nolan as well. So we might get an Irish horse in there as well, because we still don't know the entries. But whatever happens, I'm really looking forward to that, because it's going to be a race that sorts the wheat from the chaff early in terms of the British novice hurdlers.
I did not expect you to be going to the Challow now, given the amount of race that we have on offer, but nicely done though.
There we go. And I actually completely forgot as well. Paul Nichols has won the last 4 Challow novice hurdles.
Unbelievable record.
And Regent Stroll, I thought, was really good at Newbury on his first hurdling start. So a good race. Whether or not there'll be Cheltenham Festival horses, because they're not trained in Ireland, is another matter. But we get too caught up in Cheltenham sometimes. This on its own is going to be a crack, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, like I say, we always get the anti-post quote, so we're ahead of the Ballymore then out of that, but it's rarely translated though, is it, from it? But all the same though, great race in its own right. Now, I was looking through everything, and the price from an anti-post perspective that blew my mind was Ballyburn at 4-5. I think just a shade of odds on for him to go into the Faugheen Novices Chase. Now, Grade 1 contest comes up at Limerick on the 28th of December. It's over 2 miles, 3.5 furlongs. This is the only entry he has over the Christmas period as well. Now, of course, we've got Leopardstown on the same day as this race, so Paul Townend will unlikely be available to go and ride Ballyburn, but so I'm not sure who's obviously going to get the ride on him. But you look at the race though, and Impero Pass is second favourite as it currently stands. He's likely to go for the long distance novices chase at Leopardstown on Boxing Day, same as Better Days Ahead and Croke Park. And for all that I love Sam Majest, because he's just such a beast, but he is nowhere near good enough to be giving Ballyburn a race. So I know Ballyburn, like I say, if you can get that price currently in comparison to what he's going to go off at, Because that race is going to cut up massively.
You're putting your faith, though, in Kate, you know, the obvious happening. And if he was trained by anyone else, you'd probably spot
I
on,
know, Willie Mullins bingo.
Let's be honest.
Willie'll probably end up running him over hurdles or something.
I know, yeah, exactly. Or just to try and get Paul to ride him somewhere. But
you never know. But
to get that price without just chancing him to run, I am more than willing to lose my stake at this stage for that.
I think out of all of last season's novice hurdlers, I thought the Supreme was a really poor race. He was the outstanding horse of all the whole novice division. Like what he did in the Gallagher was just outstanding, and I'm looking forward to him as well wherever he runs.
Yeah, hopefully he will run there, but I think he just needs to jump around, like barring any sort of incident or slight issue there, then he's just going to sail around there, I'd expect, and for a race that is very likely to cut up, it's a golden opportunity for him.
What did you make of his jumping?
Grand.
Yeah,
Yeah. Good, did you?
I thought look, it's just, you've got to treat these horses like novices. I thought he was fine. You know, he just got better and better with racing as the season went on last year. I'm sure it'll be the same. That's how Willie trains them. He was beaten first time out over hurdles last year, and I thought he was good. Yeah.
Do you know what was most impressive? I was actually at the track that day when he won. Watched him come back in. Genuinely looked like he'd just done a very casual piece of work. He didn't look like it, you know, and the horse is in behind. I know people sometimes look at these races and think, oh, you know, is there that much trying to beat? He was basically just head and shoulders above them, which is what you'd expect. You know, he has a lofty reputation for this reason, but he's an exciting prospect.
Such an engine. I just like the fact that he's maturing as well, because he was such a headstrong horse at one stage, wasn't he? Where I think fences will just make a man of him.
Oh,
hopefully.
yeah. Once you get older in life, you know, all that the exuberance and positivity gets dragged out of you, and I'm hoping it'll be the same as him, because I've backed him anti-post for the Brown Advisory at 12, so
hoping he's going to go that way.
I need him to settle down so he goes out.
So he settles and goes up in trip then. I was wondering what analogy you were going to make then between time making a man out of you. I was wondering how much time we were going to give you, but, you know, there is still time for you all the same.
There is still time for me and for Ballyburn.
Right, on that note then, that wraps up our Christmas crackers. Time for us to head over to the Skypad, though, to give you plenty more insight ahead of this weekend's action from Ascot. Now, as promised, a look ahead to the more immediate future of this weekend at Ascot. All races live on Sky Sports Racing. And the feature race is the Long Walk Hurdle, the Grade 1 contest, 4-year-olds and over 3 miles. Comes up at 2:25. So, big race of the day. I'm going to kick us off because I'm being quite unoriginal with this, to be honest with you. I am with Strong Leader, who is the favourite, 9-4 heading the way in a really competitive race. It almost felt like it was becoming like a seniors hurdle at one point, didn't it? But now we've actually got quite young horses going on here. Now, Strong Leader, he is, again, I say about Sam Majes, but Strong Leader is the best looking horse in training. He's an absolute beast. He does have his own way of jumping. He's very much a typical son of Pass and Glance, where they are very straight-backed. They have their own way of jumping. However, he's just figured it out for himself, but hence why we tend to see Pass and Glances over hurdles rather than going over fences. Now, we're going to look back at him when he won at Newbury on the 29th of November. Really likeable effort. Of course, wasn't probably to the form of his Grade 1 Liverpool hurdle success at Aintree, when he won by over 4 lengths. But this was in the Grade 2 long distance hurdle. Wasn't the strongest of Grade 2s by any mean, but such is the general state of a saying hurdle division at present. But he gave away a penalty here. His jumping issues came to the fore to an extent at the second last, but again, regathered his momentum there. And we know that he really likes a flat track, as was seen that day. Now, Ascot is not a flat track, which is deceptively so, because but it really isn't by any means. However, on his sole start so far at Ascot, he went well enough then in a Grade 2. And he's just a better horse nowadays. So I'm going to kick us off with a really unoriginal one. Strong Leader heading the way in this deck. Hopefully you agree.
Yes, I am with you. I just think it's a race, another race with plenty of question marks. You know, the Wall Park has obviously taken a big jump up in class here into Grade 1 company. Shoot first, third favourite. You know, he had a really tough race in that ground at Haydock, where it just felt like a day. It had never stopped raining at Haydock. You know, half the field, I'd say 3/4 of the field pulled up in that race. Crambo was supposed to run in the long distance hurdle at Newbury last time out, but he missed the race, so he's had an interrupted prep. Blue King Daru ran in this race last year, you know, as a young horse. He's still only 5, but to me, it just patently looked like he didn't stay. And, you know, I just wonder about the rest of them then. Hidden Valley Lake is probably good enough to win, but this is his first start of the season, and he can be a little bit gassy. So I just thought Strong Leader was the horse to beat. Now, look, You could still probably argue that 9 to 4 is as short as you want. I thought maybe 3s would be a fair reflection of his chance. But, you know, he is the most likely winner, and, you know, he has taken on a field that has plenty of question marks. So I am with you, Katie Tracey, in strong leader. And this is him and Blue King Daru taking each other on over hurdles last year. Now, this was over 2.5 miles, but, you know, he's really come into himself once he's gone over 3 miles. I think he, you know, at one stage there I thought he was a really lazy horse. I think it's just turned out he didn't have the pace to be running over these trips, because they've experimented with cheek pieces here and there, but since he's gone up on trip, you know, everything's just been a little bit slower for him. He's gone through the races nicely, which possibly isn't a surprise given his bypassing glance, and his dam was related to Strong Flow, who once upon a time won a Hennessy. So yeah, I'm with you, Katie Tracey, strong leader, but is Sam going to make it a hat-trick this week?
Are you, Sam?
No,
Joyous,
I'm not.
of course.
I'm not. I like strongly. You've both made really cogent, clear arguments. And of the pair at the front of the betting, I'd sooner be kind of with strong leader than the Wall Park, who could take yet another step forward and has been, you know, impressive in doing so. But with the prices, I kind of started to go through them. I can't believe you're abandoning Shoot First after that 22 to 1 winner.
Yeah, but that was.
But it was a tough race. Declan did highlight that, and again, more will be needed here. Blue King Daru, I kind of been there, got the T-shirt and had my fingers burnt a few times on this horse, so probably not as in love with that horse as I should be. But Christmas is a time for forgiveness, isn't it, Dec? That'd be good for later when we have to forgive you for your various misdemeanours. And I'm going to forgive Crambo, who stitched me up last season, because he won this race 12 months ago, beating Paisley Park. And we were all getting really excited about Fergal O'Brien for the Stayers Hurdle with this horse. And what transpired with the 2 runs at Cheltenham and Aintree just didn't really seem to produce what he could do. And we'll watch this race back from last year where he gets the better of, albeit Paisley and Drashall, who are obviously at this point relative old timers, but
Paisley was about 104 here, wasn't he?
Drashall wasn't too far off, neither was Champ.
But the attitude he showed was really good here, and obviously he was still kind of learning his craft. The other thing with Crambo is, look at his record first time out. Now, you mentioned the interrupted prep deck. That would normally be a concern, but there's so many of these kind of staying hurdle contests dotted through the calendar. If they were that worried and it had been significant, they could have waited and gone in the new year somewhere. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to let that put me off. I think the record first time out speaks for himself. It's probably last chance saloon for me and this horse as a staying hurdler. But I think this is a good opportunity at a track that he's proven at. I'm excited to see what he can do, and I'm going with a half-full attitude.
And a kind of a Christmas theme name. You could just call him Crimbo if he wins. Crimbo, he pay for Christmas.
Yeah, cranberry sauce, crambo sauce. I don't know.
Oh goodness, the pair of you two thinking of all of these now. I knew that there were going to be
probably not the strongest reason for tipping, just because it sounds like a Christmas-related name. But I just felt, what are we?
We've had worse reasons.
15 to 2. Yeah, I kind of want one more chance.
Yeah, for Crimbo Crambo then at 15 to 2 in here to go back and defend his crown. It's just not going to be the same about Paisley Park, is it? But that was great though to see that clip of him back again. And
it was not great because I was on Paisley as well.
I think a lot of people were. Oh goodness, he was a nightmare, wasn't he, last season? But yeah, really looking forward to that contest. Do let us know who you fancy in the comment section below. Now, before we move on to our next race at Ascot, a reminder to subscribe on YouTube and also hit the bell notification so you never miss an episode. We will be back with loads more weekend winners in the new year. Right, we're on to the 3 o'clock at Ascot now. The Silver Cup handicap chase. This is a Premier handicap. 4-year odds and over 3 miles. Now, Victorino, who won this a year ago, is a warm order at the head of the market at 2 to 1, Sam.
Yeah, and I'm a really keen backer of Victorino at that price. I think 2 to 1's fair. I think it could go a little bit shorter. What was he, £1 lower, winning this last year? You know, there's so much to like about this horse. I would argue it's a very similar, if not slightly weaker renewal this year. I don't think there's much in it, probably. One of the big factors for me is the form of the team. You know, these big handicaps, it feels like, and big Grade 1 races, in fairness. You know, Venetia Williams seems to be targeting them really well. Horse likes the track. You know, Charlie Deutsch, I think, is riding really fine. And we'll watch last year's renewal of the race, and you know, his jumping just seemed to get better, I think, from memory. And he ends up here just travelling really nicely into it. And I felt, for me, 2 to 1 was very fair about a horse that should hopefully be able to pick them off and make it back-to-back renewals. And I think the mark's really fair to only be £1 higher than this. You know, he's value for that, I think, at least alone. And I felt the reappearance was a cracking effort. But I'm going to leave some meat on the bones here because I've got a funny feeling I'm not alone on this one, and one of you has got the right opinion in wanting to back this horse. I'm
joining you, a Queen V support then over the Christmas period. You definitely have changed allegiances from Jamie Snowden to Venetia Williams over Christmas. But yeah, Victorino for me as well, for all of the reasons that you've just said. The fact he's back to defend his crown, he's back at his favourite course and distance, only £1 higher than last year. And the way that he absolutely flew into vision last time out at Newbury. Now, this was a race where if you had sided with him, he was a short enough price for the Coral Gold Cup as well. But he just, his jumping issues, going left-handed at a track basically other than Ascot, really came to the fore. And you did just think, right, OK, he's completely out of any sort of contention. If you'd sided with him, you'd already torn your ticket up at this point. But we see this time and time again from Charlie Deutsch, where he's just allowed completely free rein by Venetia Williams on horses to just ride them as he feels. He's the most on instinct rider I think there is about, where he barely gets an instruction apparently from Venetia Williams. And just look at him. Where has he come from? Where has he come from? I had to double check down on the race card to be like, that can't be Victorino's head, surely.
I thought there was a small chance he was going to be pulled up after the cross fence.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of that run. I'm glad you mentioned his jumping, because for me, that's the worry with him. He's just so fiddly. And I don't know. I don't know what to make of that run. I thought maybe he just needed the run badly and he took a blow, or does he need to go further up and trip? You know, is he going to develop into a national kind of type horse? I don't know.
Yeah, if only the Grand Nationals run at Ascot, then all over it. All over it then. But yeah, salmon are in abundance, though, I think is fair to say. And I know that they were getting tired in front, but even so, to finish with that rattle over that trip around Newbury was something else.
And I'm glad we got the head on there, because on the normal replay, we didn't see him at all from the fourth fence home, because he was so far behind.
Exactly, like that's the thing, is I wanted a compilation of little clips and of that race, but actually you can't see him in many of them apart from those head-ons going down the back. We're both with Victorino then to defend his crown. You're going to join the party?
I'm not going to join the party. Look, I think he is absolutely the horse to beat, getting back at his favourite track. But, you know, he made so many errors last time out at Newbury. And, you know, like I said, it looked like it was such a strange run to me. It looked like he was nearly going to be pulled up after jumping the cross fence, and then he rattled home. So, obviously, smaller field, maybe softer ground, and definitely an easier race, so I can see it. But I'm going to take him on with Trelawney of the Kim Bailey yard, who I'm hoping will have a big winner, because it looks like Chianti Classico, who ran at Cheltenham last week, his career is potentially over. And they've been really unlucky with some of these nice horses. Kim, I remember Vindication picked up an issue as well, and he was retired early. And I just like the Kim Bailey yard. I think people forget what a successful trainer Kim Bailey was earlier in his career. You know, I think they do buy characters as well, and they don't buy you know, they buy all these horses on physique, and I think whoever's buying them for Kim, him and his team do a really good job. Now, this fella, he's an 8-year-old, but he's only run 10 times, and he's unexposed in general, and he's definitely unexposed over 3 miles. Victorino, on the other hand, is a 6-year-old, and he's run 20 times, so it's a bit weird how it's all panned out. But I remember Kim saying this guy was just way too weak to run earlier in his career. But now, you know, he's really coming together physically, and I thought he was a really good winner of the Graduation Chase at Haydock last time out, beating Iroko, a horse who was competing in Grade 1s earlier in the season. Now, I thought he was given a good ride by Tom Bellamy that day, and you could maybe say John Joe O'Neill gave Iroko a little bit too much to do, and he was overconfident, but he fought back late, which I liked, and I just see him getting on the front end and, you know, jumping well. He's definitely a better jumper of a fence than Victorino on what we've seen. You go back as well, look at some of that form in handicap company behind Ginny's Destiny, Grey Dawning as well last year. I like him, and I'd like to see the Kim Bailey horse team have a nice good winner before Christmas.
Yeah, it would be nice to see, wouldn't it, like you say, after that just heartbreaking moment then for Chianti Classico last weekend. But Trelawney is an absolute unit of a horse. He's a tricky customer, though, but he has got all the ability in the world, though, should he want to.
He had that really off day at Weatherby, didn't he? When
he tried to run off the track a lot. There was one at Exeter as well.
At least he hung right-handed that day, and Ascot is right-handed, so hopefully if he does the same, we'll have a rail.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm disappointed none of us were brave enough to go through the French form and really try and make a strong case.
Because none of us can pronounce his name.
But what I would say is, isn't it quite refreshing now? We saw a French winner last weekend, at Cheltenham. You know, we're starting to see more of these horses come over outside of the festival. Obviously, King George we mentioned earlier in the show. So, yeah, it's good because, you know, we need him for the field sizes and actually it adds a different dimension.
He is really interesting because I think he's got form behind a horse called Losange Blue, who's one of the better French hurdlers over in France, and I think his chase rating is lower than his hurdles rating. Yeah, he absolutely is interesting, and if you want to look more at him, you can go on to atheraces.com because we've got all the French form.
Nicely done, you two there, just in agreement
work
about
in
that. I know
tandem when we
exactly what team going on there, but yeah, he's an 8-1 chance, but he could do absolutely anything in here. But Sam and I both are Victorino, and then Deck is with Trelawn. Again, do let us know who you fancy for the Silver Cup handicap chase. Right, we're going to move on to the 3:35 at Ascot now. This is the Ladbrokes Hurdle, a Premier handicap, 4-year odds and over just shy of 2 miles. So competitive betting heat. Dysart Enos and Be Aware, both vying for favouritism at 4-1 the field, Deck.
Yes, I think there was maybe about 15 or 16 entered at the 5-day stage, and I think the races stood up really well. I think we've got maybe 13 in there, something around that. But the races stood up well, which is good. Again, probably not the most competitive or classiest renewal. You know, I think a lot of these handicap hurdles this year, you know, sometimes you've had horses rated in the 150s carrying top weights. That definitely hasn't been the case this season, but I do think it'll be a race run at a nice gallop, especially with Steel Ally in there and Imperio. Maybe Secret Squirrel will go forward as well. But I actually came down on Dysart Enos. You know, she went off around the 9-4 mark in the Greatwood, and I thought that given the competitiveness of the race, that was just far too short, but she ran a cracker. Now, this is probably an easier race, and she's a bigger price, and I thought she did a lot right in the Greatwood. Now, she jumped well, and I just thought for a big mare, she probably travelled too well, and the combination of being big, you know, she's entitled to come forward for the run. She really tanked her way through the race. I think Johnny Burke jumped her off in mid-div, but, you know, before 4 out there, she was in a tracking leader's position, and I just thought she shaped like she needed it badly. Now, this is her winning at Donny last season, and this was going to be her prep run before she went to the Cheltenham Festival, but obviously she was, I think she ruled out in the morning of the race, so that was a big blow for the Fergal O'Brien team. But I liked her comeback, and, you know, I didn't realise as well, you know, jumping 3 out, she jumped into the back of Burdett Road, which definitely might have knocked the wind out of her as well. Just everything about her, from how she travelled, how big she is as a horse, and how she hit the line, suggested she would come forward for the run. This looks an easier race. She should get some pace to run, and she's entitled to steps forward. So it's a big day for Fergal O'Brien and his team, who's obviously got Dysart Enos, and they've got Crambo as well. So yeah, well, I'm hoping Crambo doesn't win. I'm hoping this one does.
Yeah, so you're hoping for a half a good day there.
Yeah, half a good day for Fergal.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, Fergal. Yeah, Dysart Enos then at 4-1 for Deck, Sam.
Yeah, Deck, you mentioned obviously how short she went off at Cheltenham. Any slight fear that was very much, she was so prepped for that day, and then you're coming here now into, I would argue, a slightly less competitive race.
Yeah, no,
I think it's fair to say.
Absolutely.
But would you not have a little concern about that?
Yeah, you have to. Again, you know, we operate off, I'm a forward student, I do back my own opinion. I don't know what Fergal does with these horses at home. You can only go off the form book and judge what you see. She was clearly fancied for the race, but given how she tanked through the race and how she hit the line and how she hung late, she did shape like needing it. So I'm hoping she will step forward for the run as a big filly.
Deflected back, Sam.
That's all right. No politicians' answer, but I like it. Be Aware for me, the favourite in here. Yeah, interesting horse, but just getting nudged up for coming second always kind of puts me off. And Secret Squirrel, obviously from a yard that managed to win back-to-back renewals of this race. There was a bit of each-way support for that, actually, anti-post when we opened betting. I thought that was quite interesting. What are we now? Yeah, a few people managed to snag, I think, about 16-1, so fair play to them. But I'm a sucker for an unexposed horse here, and what doesn't look a vintage renewal. Cabral de Mathan, I thought, was a really, really interesting play from Paul Nicholls to pitch this horse in here. We first saw this horse winning at Huntingdon on these shores, having arrived from France, and the quotes from the assistant trainer that day was all roads led to Cheltenham and the Fred Winter, and then I couldn't really establish why the horse didn't make it there. I suspect there was maybe just an issue or something.
He had an issue, yeah. If you remember correctly, I actually put him up. Well, you won't, obviously, why would you remember? It was my selection. I put him up anti-post in the show last year for the Fred Winter, but obviously he didn't run. That was non-run or no bet, by the way, before someone gives me pelters.
Anyway, we'll save the pelters for later. But the good news was, this season, Horse has reappeared, clearly none the worse for whatever issue it was, because it was really, really impressive, winning by I think 4.5 lengths at Kempton. And I just felt like this is a clever Paul Nicholls. Let's map out a target for this horse. 4-year-old's got a mixed record in here, but there have been a couple of winners if you go back through the years in recent enough renewals. Didn't think it was the strongest. I think he's decided to roll the big dice here, and I thought 5-1 was a cracking price about a really unexposed horse who I think hasn't got too much to go against here that I'd be particularly worried about once you start moving through the bigger prices. I didn't find too much. I was trying to find actually something at a double-digit price, and there was nothing that caught my eye.
No, it's tricky, isn't it? And like the fact that the market is so focused on the Greatwood form as well, then, and it is all surrounding itself around there, then 5-1 shot is not a bad way to go about this whatsoever. But the horse, though, for me, who is in double figures, the first one in double figures of which as well is Favour and Fortune, where, again, I was just looking away from the head of the market. I mean, be aware, oh, goodness, that was slightly agonising than last time out when I sided with him. But I'm going to take him on this occasion, just because I like the price about Favour and Fortune, and this is very much as a pricey race for me more so than anything else. Now, he is making his reappearance start, but we're going to look at him on his reappearance start and his hurdle debut here. Now, this was back at Hereford on the 24th of October 2023, and he looked a really smart horse on this occasion, and you just thought, OK, he's going to go on to bigger and better things, which he certainly did so. Now, he absolutely dotted up on this occasion, and this was after winning his first 2 bumper starts, then finishing 3rd of the British home in the Champion Bumper prior. So this was his reappearance, clearly goes to show that he goes well fresh. He also finished 6th in the Supreme last year, doing best of the British on that occasion. Now, he signed off last year with a win at Ayr on his final start. Now, that was his handicap debut. This is only his 2nd handicap start as well. And that Ayr contest, really competitive, as is this, clearly. But running off a mark of 141, just up £3 then from that latest start and success as well. And Alan King, his horses have been doing so well on their reappearances and back from lengthy enough breaks as well. So I think he was meant to run at Aintree, I think I'm right in saying, for the abandoned day there. So he should be that big.
And he was also entered at Donny last week as well for that good 2 hurdle that we put up Altabelli in, but we won't talk about that.
Yeah, no, that was such a strange run by Altabelli, wasn't it?
He's got that in him, isn't it?
Yeah, he really does.
And I tell you what, Tom Canning gave him some ride in that Ayr Champion Hurdle that day. Absolutely scrape paint down the inside while everything was 3 and 4 wide. I can see it with him. I just don't like the interrupted prep, but at least you're getting a price.
Exactly, you definitely are. 12-1. He's just kind of been forgotten about. So I'm hoping that that's what's going to be. Well, he's going to continue to be forgotten about, and I can keep the 12-1 about Favour and Fortune. So lots of disagreement then in, understandably so, a super competitive handicap hurdle. Right, that's a look ahead to those Ascot races. On to our best bets of this weekend, though. So, Dec, where are we looking for your nap first and foremost?
Best bets, yes. Nothing too fancy for me this week. I wasn't sure, didn't really like anything at Haydock, so I've kept it pretty straightforward here. Strong Leader will do for me as the nap this week. I liked his comeback in the long distance hurdle at Newbury. I liked the way they were ridden more forward, actually. He wasn't held up, he could track the pace, and I think that will suit him as well. And the time and the sectionals that he put up were good with the following course and distance handicap that was run the next race. So Strong Leader will do for me. You could argue 9-4 is as short as you want to go, but it's a race with lots of question marks, so he will do. And then the next best will be Trelawn. I'm hoping Victorino has an off day. I'm sorry, lads, but that's just the way it is. He's struggled with those downhill fences there at Ascot a couple of times, and I'm hoping he'll struggle again. But Trelawn just looks like, even though he's an 8-year-old, he's really unexposed as a horse and over this trip, and he jumps well. So hopefully one for the Kim Bailey team there as well. And then as well, Steel Ally in the Ladbrokes Handicap Hurdle. If all the rain comes at Ascot, I need a lot more rain to come for him. And we haven't really mentioned the weather, but he looks very much at home in soft ground at Haydock last time out. He's a strong travelling horse who jumps okay dropping in trip. I'd like to see him over further, but I thought it was a good performance last time out at Haydock. So if all the rain comes, I will definitely be getting him on side as well.
Oh, we couldn't be this show without a mention of the weather now.
It's just a nightmare. Just when will it end? Can we move to Dubai or something?
Exactly, and just to have some consistency.
Yeah, just some consistency would be nice.
But do watch for weather then about Steel Ally. Now, your nap has been boosted. Strong Leader. Good to see that the BetVictor traders have not taken off their leave early for Christmas. 9-4 to 13-5, Dec.
Happy Christmas.
You're fighting it. I can see he's fighting every urge.
Happy Christmas, lads. Jeez.
There you go. 13-5 for your Christmas present. Not to be
I
sniffed
think
at
Sam
by any
actually
means.
looked at me like, that's a good boost, mate.
I know, he's giving you a nudge there. Right, strong leader being boosted all with
Behave yourself, Boswell. Come on.
Make sure to head to the BetVictor
And you wonder
micro
why
site.
I'm miserable around Christmas.
Make sure to head to the micro site to take advantage of that boost or scan the QR code in Vision and ignore deck. Right, Sam, continue to ignore deck and what do you like?
Yeah, let's get back on track, shall we? My 3, I am going to go to Haydock because I was lucky enough to see Holloway Queen run at Lingfield earlier on in the season, and that came on soft ground, which is what we can probably expect up at Haydock, if not a little bit worse. And her point form's quite interesting. It's worth having a little look at that because I think quite a few of the horses in and around her only point start have ended up going to household name trainers. Was a fairly expensive horse and really impressed me on her hurdles debut for Nicky Henderson and beat a good yardstick of Harry Derham's as well. And I thought Nico going up there was fairly significant. Going up into a listed company should be there or thereabouts, and I thought if we can get even money or bigger, I'll be happy. My next best we've already spoken about, which is Cabral de Matin for Paul Nicholls in that closing handicap at Ascot. Really hoping that the unexposed nature of this horse will play in our favour, can take a step forward and looks well handicapped. We'll see, won't we, come 3:35. And then finally, my long shot, I'm going back to one of the races we've already spoken about. I think Victorino is my win proposition, but I had this horse and put him up, didn't I, in the Paddy Power as a long shot. Ran kind of no sort of really discernible race in that to get too excited about. But as a result, and with Connor Stone Walsh coming over, who's a name you should actually note, actually, if you don't watch a lot of Irish racing, I think he's certainly capable. He takes 3 off, which will be really handy for this horse's chances. Going back up to 3 miles, I think will definitely suit this horse. And I think it's interesting that Gavin Cromwell's persisting with coming over here for a valuable race when there's so many options in the next 7 to 8 days in Ireland for the horse. So for me, I just felt at a price angle, I'll have a saver each way at 14-1. Was 20-1 actually when I first put him up. So someone must agree.
Someone agrees already.
Finishing the year with an after time as well, oh?
Even before you put it up, someone agreeing with you. 20-1 into 14-1, but Holloway Queen, you said you did just want a bit of even money then. So, of course, with the boost, you're getting even better than that because yours has been boosted 10 to 11 to 6 to 5
there
now.
We go.
Holloway Queen.
That's a much better boost than mine, to be fair.
Anyone would think they like me more than you, Deck.
To be fair, exactly. That's exactly the point, to be honest.
I told you, the Christmas spirit, they were all lying earlier. They wouldn't believe me.
All line, don't believe the jumper. There you go. Again, do head to the website or the QR code to take advantage of that boost on Holloway Queen. Now, my nap is going to be the aforementioned Victorino in the hope that Deck is wrong. Sam and I are right, though, and he can go back and defend his crown off of just £1 higher than for success in this race last year. I think that 2-1 is a very fair price about him. Back over his favourite course and distance after flying home in the Coral Gold Cup last time out. And I just think that this mark gives him every chance of defending his crown. Now, Eroka, a race we haven't spoken about. It's a graduation chase. Only 4 runners. 1 British runner, 3 Irish. Really tricky race to weigh up. But Eroka, I know that the main aim for him is the Grand National at the end of the season. So trying to keep his mark pretty much where it is at present is tricky. Now, I'm hoping he's going to get a form boost. Actually, it'll be later on from Trelawn. So Trelawn may get the form boost from Iroko earlier on in this race. But I just feel with this race, you look at the 3 rivals. I mean, Jungle Boogie might be the biggest threat as the outsider of the field because James de Burley, I just don't fully trust his finishing effort. Love Fildor, but he was like 140 last time out to win. Did so. Iroko, a very smart horse. As you say, I feel that Trelawn just got the run on him last time out on his reappearance start. So I know that he's got bigger targets in mind down the way, but he needs experience. He needs to get his head in front again, and I'm hoping that this will be the perfect opportunity for Iroko in that 150 at Ascot 13-8. And then Favour and Fortune for all of the reasons I said earlier on in the Ladbrokes Premier Handicap Hurdle. Super competitive contest. I just think he's been overlooked at 12-1 in here. Reappearance start, yes, but if he did have those initial targets, he should still be fit enough and sharp enough to do himself justice. And it is interesting that Connections did state at the end of last year their intention to keep him over hurdles going into this year as well. So it has been a plan for him to come here instead of going chasing then. So I hope that that decision is justified for Favour and Fortune. But again, The third of our boost, Victorino, is also being boosted by the BetVictor traders. 2-1 now, 12-5. There you go.
Katie Tracey's in the bad books as well, I see.
I know. This is our version of Cole, isn't it, really? We're getting the Cole and Sam's getting
Maybe they just think you're better judges than me, guys. That's all I'll say.
I'm sure that's what it is. They're erring on the side of caution with us, Dec. Yeah. 12-5 then about Victorino. Merry Christmas, everyone, for that one. But again, do head to the website to take advantage of those boosts. Now, I've just been told I'm going to give you two a little curveball.
Oh, no.
A little curveball now to round off the show and round off the year. Your highlight of 2024. Sam, what would your highlight be?
Oh, let's get the trumpet out. Mr. Professor winning the Lincoln all those times ago, which feels like about 200 years ago, doesn't it? Biggest price winner I managed to find this year. Isle of Jura, really enjoyed that. Royal Ascot was fantastic, wasn't it? Geez, as racing festivals go, that was my favourite of the last 12 months. I thought it was perfect. You look at the prices of the winners, the competitiveness of the races. There was something for everyone. I thought that was the best 5 days by miles. I thought it was a good flat season, actually. Jumps, I think, probably wasn't as many highlights to take out of it. I thought, obviously, the changes to the national kind of made that quite an interesting topic, and I think we'll see classier horses go for that year on year. But, yeah, I'd say those... I really enjoyed the flat season, actually. I think, there was a little bit more consistency to it, and punting-wise, I think it was definitely preferable for me. So I'll go with that.
I threw you a curveball and you came up with a perfect answer. Yeah. It's like he knew that this was coming as well. He did not at all. I can justify that. I can, Dec, go on then. He's bought you enough time.
Well, I was going to say, keep chatting, I can think. Probably Starlust for me, the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, good shout.
You know, it's rare you call a race that right, and I think that's the best way of winning, probably as a jockey and as a punter, last to first. Obviously a big price, and I think I was in the pub at the time, had about 3 or 4 pints watching the race with a couple of mates, and that race was on, so I was nice and merry. And let's just say I absolutely disgraced myself. I was up like Mikel Barcelona on the chair, giving it the big one. So, you know, what a buzz. And that's why we do it, isn't it? The winners are great, but I love shouting and roaring at the TV and feeling alive. And that's why I love this game, because you get plenty of that.
And what a year Rafe Beckett's had, by the way.
Unbelievable.
He's probably one of the trainers of the year, I think it's fair to say.
Oh, yeah, definitely. He's had the season of all seasons. I don't know what my highlight would be, to be honest. Probably just Lethal Levi. They mentioned him earlier on. We're running every single week, constantly mugging us off. Oh, it was great fun though, wasn't it? Yeah, so the flat season served us up plenty, hoping for plenty more from the jump season. But that is everything from us on this bumper festive edition of Weekend Winners. So a big thank you to the lads, not only for your hard work today, lads, but throughout the entirety of 2024 as well.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure, and thank you for everyone who supports the show. Really enjoyed doing it. So hope everyone has a good Christmas, and we will see you in the new year.
Yeah, we will. That's the even better news, that we're back for another 52, 51 episodes next year. More winners needed, gang. So we're going to have to really, kick on. That's our New Year's resolution, I think it is, to try and find a few more winners. But we'll do our best.
We will do our best, as we always do. But like you say, that we will be back in 2025. So plenty more shows to look forward to. But a big thank you to all of you who do tune in and engage with us each and every week. Best of luck with your bets over the following week as well. And we will see you next year.
Are you okay, Sam? Like, blink twice if you're being held captive. I'm getting that kind of vibe.
And I've gone for one which is an absolutely wild price here, Mr. Professor, and I just felt could just be a bit of an overpriced horse.
And Mr. Professor is storming home to take the Lincoln for David Egan and Dominic French-Davis.
Fair play to Sam. He gave up tipping winners for Lent, but then the week before Jesus himself is resurrected, he brings his profit and loss back to life.
Table talk at a nice big price as well.
But Sam, there must have been plenty of table talk in old Popper last night, was there?
He's just going to keep prodding.
Sorry, we digress.
He's just going to keep prodding away. So, hopefully, finally for Carry the One, when everyone has tried to abandon him.
Tracey's trends cooking again.
It is Carry the One who wins the Balmoral.
I've gone down with the old lurgy at the moment.
Not looking it though.
I was sweating like Highland reel in the bed there last night, so things weren't looking good.
My pumpkin made an appearance on Sky Sports Racing.
I saw this clip actually. Who no, it wasn't
that's
your
not a
choice.
euphemism.
Certainly isn't, Declan, please, no.
The best value bet of the whole Breeders' Cup for me runs in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. Starloss for Rafe Beckett and Ross O'Ryan. I'm hoping Tommy and Tommy Marquand and Holly Doyle have a bit of a domestic out wide here. Coburn, the favourite, is also drawn wide. I'm hoping Irad's going to have an interjection. Meanwhile, Ross O'Ryan is slipping down the inside. 20 to 1 is a big price.
And they're getting took under now. Here comes A.G. Bullet. Here comes Starlust. Starlust comes from the clouds to win.
Well, we had our own HR case just a few moments ago when Katie Tracey was complimenting on your shiny ring, but you know.
I've decided to take a swing at a big price. I say a big price. I thought 9 to 1, 10 to 1 was very fair. About Isle of Jura.
Isle of Jura wins the Hardwick Stakes, and Callum Shepherd salutes the crowd as well, he might.
You're
So
some man for the knee action this weekend as well.
Yeah, I do like a little bit of Michael Flatley, you know, you need it to handle the ground, so there we go. Good result. Probably helped a little bit by Aurelien Lemaitre on the second, kind of riding like he left the iron on at home or something, but, you know.
Max Vega in here for me. So, yeah, at a bigger price, I'd rather take Max Vega to chance that.
It's a second win in the race for Max Vega.
Probably sounds a little bit better than Haydock, who's got 46 mils of rain in the last week. It sounds like it's wetter than an otter's pocket up that part of the country. All you needed was a pink jacket and you would have had nearly the Juddmonte
Actually, if
silks.
you want any fashion advice or tips, do subscribe on YouTube and also hit the bell notification so you never miss a fashion update.
But Lord Melbourne, just thought at a bigger price, he was the bet for me. I think he's a good, solid each-way bet.
Lord Melbourne is out in front. It's Lord Melbourne in the November handicap.
Deck's trying to find value. I'm trying to find the winner, Deck.
Oh, a bookie who doesn't want a man back in value. There you go. That's it. It says all you need to know.
And it's the very appropriately named back me or sack me, which I think is something Declan has to ask for most weeks. But let's take a look at...
Being joined by both lads in the studio. Sam, you're back. How's your face?
Yeah, suitably recovered, thanks, Kate. And yeah, the good news is...
What a start.
I think the Reverend is going to go off favourite and it's currently 6 to 1. I've got to make him my nap, haven't I?
The race up the waterline. It's the Reverend and David Probert who are well clear to win.
What a show.
What a show.
Big orange and popmaster. I love it.